Welcome to the Phoenix Suns Solar Panel Podcast. Appreciate you joining us this morning or whenever you are listening to the podcast version. By the way, watching on YouTube right now, do us a favor, hit that thumbs up button right there at the bottom. Really helps with the YouTube algorithms. My name is Tim Tompkins, Mr. Greg Esposito,
Ahoy, hoy.
and of course, managing editor of Brightside of the Sun, Dave King.
The boss of everybody and everybody's boss. How's it going?
Yes. Well, the Suns have now lost three straight. They're sitting 2 games under 500. And there was one player last night, because we're recording this the day after the Mavericks game, that really, really stuck out in my mind as having a clear impact on the game. I don't know if you guys noticed this by all the talk on Suns Twitter.
Was he in a blue shirt?
He was Tim Hardaway Jr. He was fantastic.
He reminded me of his father against the Suns in the 90s. So
Yeah, I didn't
kicking
realize
our
it.
ass.
He's second, I believe. Anyway, he's second in the league at made threes. He is a catch and shoot 3-point shooter, and it's nice to see him. Honestly, playing so well this year.
Can we just say how old it makes us feel that these sons of guys that we watched when we were younger are now lighting up the league? It makes me, just reminds me that I'm 36 years old today, and that sucks. So.
Oh yes, it is. It is
Oh,
your
you poor little
birthday.
bitch.
Hey,
Yeah.
we got a thumbs down. This is the first time I've ever seen a thumbs
down.
Woo!
We got a
Hey,
thumbs down
call
already.
yourself out, please. Let us know who thumbed us.
Whoa! Hey now, who thumbed us?
That's
Greg
that is-
needed a thumbing on his birthday. Thank you
That-
very much.
that's somebody hate watching. That's kind of funny, man. Okay, so
We love
seriously,
y'all.
though, guys, the Suns have lost 3 games in a row. This was the first game in which we did have
Wait a
everybody
minute,
back.
Tim, you buried the lead.
What?
Happy birthday to
Oh,
you.
God, please don't
Happy
sing.
birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Greggy. Happy birthday to you.
Oh dear Lord! Now
And
I
many
regret ever being
more.
born. I regret ever being born. Thank you guys. Can we get to Suns talk now? So.
Yes,
Please.
yes. Because I have some producer things to do. So let me throw this out to you guys so I can get this stuff done. Suns have now lost 3 straight. Like I said, sitting 2 games under 500. And this did come on the heels of finally getting pretty much everybody back, except for, of course, DeAndre Ayton. What are your guys' thoughts right now?
Well, Aaron Baines still was on a minute limitation. I'm not saying that if he wasn't, that would have made the difference in the game, but I think it takes a little while to get your chemistry back with a group. Ricky Rubio with back spasms it's probably going to take him a few games to get back into the swing of things. But these last 3 games have been ugly compared to the way the season started, but nothing like what we've experienced over the last few years. I think we've set a new standard for this team, and it's frustrating to watch them falter at certain points in a game, but they are still a much better team than we've watched in recent memory. Even without Ricky Rubio, they still were. The biggest thing to me right now, and I touched upon it, I don't remember if it was last Saturday or on Wednesday's episode, is Devin Booker is lacking that killer instinct that we saw earlier in the season. The guy that took charge of that 76ers game and had MVP chance rain down on him has not shown up recently. He's deferred. He's been somewhat passive, and they need that guy that has that killer instinct and is aggressive. In that Mavericks game in the fourth quarter, the wheels completely fell off on that offense, and they needed Devin Booker to kind of just kick into that mode that he was, that FU mode that he had earlier in the year, and we're just not seeing it right now. And he's in a slump, in particular over the last 3 games, and the last 2 I think were the first time he shot below 40%, I believe, this season, or 50. I gotta go back and look at the stat because research is not our strong point here, as we've made the point. But it has not been the guy that we saw earlier in the season. Without Devin Booker being star level, this team's going to struggle. I mean, that's just the reality of it because he's the best player on the court for the Suns, and there's no that's no surprise to anybody. And if he's not playing with that that killer instinct, it's going to cost him.
Yeah, Monty and the guys, they talked after the game about losing their composure in that fourth quarter. This was a really chippy game for those who were watching or at the game or anything like that. It was really, really chippy game. There were technicals being called in the second quarter. There were technicals being called in the third quarter. I think even the fourth quarter had something like that. And it's the Suns who ended up losing their composure, and they self-admitted that immediately after the game. Monty said, looks like these guys need to grow up a little bit. Ricky Rubio says we all need to grow up a little bit because Rubio himself got into an unnecessary altercation in the fourth that kind of predicated that him getting his fifth foul, he had to come out. And suddenly the Mavericks went on that 21-4 run. The Suns were up 97-96 when Ricky Rubio had that altercation in the fourth quarter with, I think it was Dwight Powell. And it ended up where Powell was called for the tee and Rubio for the personal foul. But the thing is, that was Rubio's fifth foul, and he had to come out of the game. And suddenly the Suns' offense got discombobulated again. You've got Rubio with, and I'm not a big fan of single game plus minus. I'm really not. But I'm going to use it anyway. Rubio was a plus 17 in this game, and Tyler Johnson was a minus 17.
Tyler Johnson has an offensive rating of 101, which is, I believe, worst on the team of anybody that's getting any major minutes right now.
He's having a tough time.
Javon Carter has an offensive rating of 98. Speaks to your point, Dave, of Tyler Johnson is really, as well as Javon Carter, lacking offensively.
Look,
I really like Tyler as a player, but he is struggling lately, and the inability of the Suns to score at all during that stretch while fouling Luka like crazy really sealed that game.
Well, and if you look at it, they've had a handful of fourth quarters in this downturn where they had the lead and they wound up giving up a big run to close things out to teams. I believe the Lakers game was the same way with that. They were up too late, too midway through the fourth, and gave up a run there. It's just this is part of this learning curve that we knew that this roster was going to go through. Most of these guys on this team are still trying to figure out how to win together, and you're going to have these ebbs and flows, and fourth quarter collapses are a sign of a team that's still trying to figure it out and put it together and understand how things are going to work in the clutch. And that's why, to me, that should be Devin Booker time. That should be when things resort back to some of what we've seen in the past where Devin takes charge of things. That's not saying he should shoot everything, but I just think you lose.
Well, he definitely has to make the shots he takes, for sure, Greg. You're right. He's got to be more effective in that fourth quarter, but he's really focusing right now on trying to play the right way, and the right way in Monty's system is to shoot or pass. I did see a check mark tweet yesterday, although I didn't follow it up myself, so it could be completely wrong. But I saw a checkmark tweet that Devin Booker is one of the league leaders in assistable passes. Like most, he has a higher percentage of his passes being assistable than most any player in the league, and so they mean something when he does pass the ball. He does set guys up. He's really great at driving and kicking out to the 3-point line over his shoulder, like Steph Curry made real popular a few years ago. It's just the Suns are missing. Darius Saric was 0 for 5 on threes. Saric was don't let the Saric hate consume you, please. Saric was really fun to watch defensively and with the little things and all that. Friday night, he just couldn't make his shots again, and so people are going to say he had a bad game. But the only thing that was bad for him was his shot. So Booker, when Rubio went out, Booker had to be the point guard because Tyler Johnson is not a point guard. So Booker did struggle, you're right, Greg, but he's not necessarily, his killer instinct is not to score is to not score 50 points anymore. It's to get other guys into scoring opportunities and have the team win. But you're right. He could have, when he saw that those guys weren't making those shots and that the Suns were suddenly getting down. I mean, that in the middle of that 21-4 run, he could have decided to start scoring himself to make sure the ball went in the hoop, but he didn't. And if we want to blame him, we certainly can, and he deserves it. But at the same time, he was in every play trying to make the right play.
It's not blame. I want to see the evolution of his game continue, and I appreciate that he's become such a good passer, but at some point you have to realize, okay, my teammates aren't getting it done right now, right? And now that means I have to. It's like, Dave, if you tell me before the show, hey, I'm struggling, I feel like I'm going to lose my voice, and I just keep deferring to you on everything, right? It's not smart. I'm being a good teammate because I'm trying to give you the opportunity to shine on the show. But if I know that you're having throat problems, it's just not the smartest move to make. And I think that's kind of, Devin just needs to take that next step where it's like, okay, I've now accepted this system. I can pass. I know when to do it. But I also know if my teammates aren't the ones connecting on shots, I have to be the one to do it, especially when you're going up against a guy like he who shall not be named in that Mavericks game, who was hitting everything and getting every call. You needed someone to counteract that, and it has to be Devin Booker on this roster right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, there's no guarantee that if you hadn't passed off that you would actually make a shot if it was a basketball game, whereas in podcasting, you always swish.
Well, no, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I always connect. Just look at all the opinions we've been wrong on. But the other thing, to your Tyler Johnson point, I think it's time to admit this bench needs help. That it's not exactly set up for success, and that Tyler Johnson's contract may be a way to get somebody in the doors here, get a few guys in the doors at some point, because I think the most valuable thing about him right now is the fact that his contract is worth as much as Robert Sarver sold his house for. He's got $20 million, a $20 million number
19.25.
Yeah.
It's so funny that the 0.25 is even in there.
Well, let me ask you guys a question then regarding that. So for one thing, a lot of the contracts in the NBA are just shorter right now, so those expiring deals aren't quite worth as much as they were a couple of years ago. But regardless, I digress. You look at the Suns bench, and you look at the backup point guards on this bench. One is Ty Jerome coming back at a certain point. They still have Javon Carter. They still have Ellie Kobo. If the Suns were going to trade Tyler Johnson, and there were a couple of teams that said, we have this position available for trade, we have this position available for trade, what position player should the Suns go after, knowing that they still have those other backup point guards on the list, with, again, Ty going to be making his debut at some point?
Look, the best backup point guard right now on the Suns bench is Steve Blake, and he's wearing a suit because he's an assistant coach, all right? That's the reality of it. So I'm looking at point guard, I'm looking at power forward right now, because when Ayton comes back, Baines is your backup center. That position's locked in, so you're good there. You obviously have a plethora of small forwards, and some of those small forwards can also fill in some of those backup wing minutes. I think point guard and power forward is where you're hurting. There's no surprise there, and we know that. And if Frank Kaminsky, R.I.P. Kaminsky Cove, I still own my timeshare, but it's getting frustrating every day. I'm sitting there, much like Bender Island. But you look at that, and if Kaminsky can't find any kind of groove, you're going to have to try to figure out an additional big man. Now, Diallo has played great when he's gotten the minutes as of late, and I give him credit for that, but you can't count on him to shoot 85% the rest of the way. He's just not going to be that guy, and I'd like more of a sure thing potentially, but certainly you need a true point guard, and I think it's way too much pressure to put on Ty Jerome to expect him to come in his rookie season and play at a level that's going to help you, stem the tide when Ricky Rubio is on the bench. So I think you need to look at that for sure.
Okay, so that being said, let's say the Suns say, Team X, we're going to trade you our backup point guard, who is clearly underperforming, for your better backup point guard. How does that? What makes the other team want to do that? Just so they don't have that better backup point guard for an extra year?
Well, look, you're gonna have to take something in terms of money, and you're gonna have to figure out a team that is probably on the border of wanting to tank and looking and going, okay, well, having this guy, whatever position you're looking at, having this guy for multiple years at a high ticket value isn't going to get us to where we want to go. We need to change course and change what we're doing, right? That's what it's going to come down to, and then you're going to have to sweeten it. You're going to have to put a young guy in there, depending on who you're going after.
Yeah,
you're going to have
that's
to put
the
a
big
draft
thing,
pick,
man. What team, like to Tim's question, what team is going to give up a more competent backup point guard than the Suns currently have? Well, only a team that are going to get an inconsistent rookie of some sort from the Suns. And do you really want to sacrifice cap space and future to get this guy is not available, but it's a comp. Corey Joseph, for example, is a backup point guard in Sacramento who has been able to step in and take over with De'Aaron Fox being out. And they've totally changed their style of play, but they've been successful because he can play defense and he can run a team a little bit. Do you want someone like that and sacrifice Ty Jerome for him?
No, I
and
wouldn't.
So now you don't have
Ty
better
Jerome.
future.
Or Mikal Bridges. I mean, you got to throw something in. So is it?
Yeah, you'd
have
to throw something in.
Is it worth it to get a
or Cam Johnson? You're ready to trade Cam Johnson?
It depends on who the guy is, and it depends. It depends on where you view this team too. If I sit here and look at a way a lot of the fans look at it, and they think this is a quote unquote playoff team, then I'm making moves with trying to, and if this is the way James Jones thinks, I'm making moves that try to benefit this team now and over the next handful of years. If I'm still in a patient wait and see mode, then of course I'm not giving up a young guy to better this roster this year. That's what it comes down to, I think, is the way you view this. Now, if I'm going to go fishing, I'm going big. I'm looking for a starting caliber power forward, and I'm moving Sarge to backup, and I'm letting Frank know you'll get in if anybody gets injured. At this point, you're my third string guy, and we'll figure it out as we go. That's what I'm doing if I'm pushing my chips in the table, and then you do some kind of smaller move to try to get some kind of backup that may be available at a point guard position.
I got to give a shout out to Frank a little bit on Friday. That poor guy, he did make a three, but really he was pretty much a disaster offensively all night long. And he even airballed a free throw on his home court, but then missed his second one. But then he ran in, got his own offensive rebound, kicked it back out, and the Suns made a three in their big run in the third quarter to get them up, to help them get up by 8. And that was huge. So I give props to Frank for hustling the guys. Every day he's hustling. So I really think he does. I know he tries really hard, and he doesn't always do well. But I get tired of watching some Suns when they're down, some guys when they're down, not chase down their own missed shot or not do whatever it takes to get the ball back. And I applaud Frank for doing that when he can.
He also had a monster rebound, just after that. I think it was on the next defensive play where he just took the ball basically on that rebound.
Yeah.
And it did remind me that there is more than one side of the court. And we often judge players just because their shot is or isn't falling at the time. And Frank Kaminsky isn't playing awful on both ends all of the time.
Right, that's the
I can
thing. Is
say.
that sometimes he does play awful on both ends, and we
Yes.
call him out for that. But on Friday night, he played as well as he could because Dallas doesn't have any really fast big guys, so Kaminsky wasn't being blown by a lot, and he did fight for some rebounds. But yeah, he was still kind of disastrous. The Kaminsky and Tyler Johnson combo has been tough to watch lately, and Monty obviously doesn't trust Javon Carter anymore for some reason.
Would have liked to have seen Ellie out there maybe a little bit more on Friday.
Ellie looked like old Ellie again on Friday. I was worried about that. Then he totally bricked a couple of 3-point attempts, and he looked a little frenetic and offense and defense. And so I think Monty was just like, look, I need some veteran in there with Tyler, and then Tyler did bad. So we might see more of Ellie, but there you go. This is why this team would be inconsistent, because if you play Ellie and Mikal and Cam Johnson, and all of a sudden you are trying to win with your youngest players, which is not a proven formula in the NBA.
Well, and they're still the youngest team in the NBA, which blows my mind when you hear that stat. But somehow they still are. Look, I think we all got way too high with the winning streak. We're probably getting too low during this losing streak. The reality is, at best, this is a 500 team, and we all said that when this season, before this season, and we all would have been thrilled if somebody told us they'd be 41-41 at the end of all this. So I think we probably
this team was
got
not
too
built
excited.
to win playoff series. That's right. It was built to raise the floor and get more competitive so that you can then build from there into a playoff team. Absolutely. So I think the team is obviously tantalizing, and we want them to win the games, and they get a lot of respect around the league. Even after Friday night's game, Rick Carlisle said the Suns are a very good team, and he was very proud of his guys for playing as well as they did. You don't have to say that. It wasn't prompted, and so I thought that was good. The Suns do have the respect of teams around the league, and you know what? Teams are not coming in taking a night off anymore either. Part of the reason the Suns were successful earlier in the season is teams were not expecting the Suns to be as good as they are. Now teams are expecting the Suns to be good, and they're giving their best shot back. So that's something the Suns will have to adjust to as well.
Well, look, saying that they're a 500 team is not a negative. That's not somehow insulting to this. That's actually, I'm excited by this team. I'm just, I hate to be the guy that has to play the reality check a lot of times, and this group here very much gets the reality of it. But it's not a negative thing. It's an exciting thing that this team is significantly better than they were.
So as someone pointed out, the Suns do play the Hornets and the Magic coming up. I'm actually going to be at the Magic game. I'm pretty excited about that. But so a couple winnable games there. Espo, you want to do your Dunc-ie award?
I want to say one thing about the Magic, and then we can do the Dunc-ie. So
Gordon would be nice to have.
No, how do the Orlando Magic have a better black and orange uniform than the Phoenix Suns? That's the most confusing. Yeah, have you seen their city ORL uniform? It's black, it's orange, and then they have a nice court to go with it. And the Suns, they have a better black and orange uniform than the Phoenix Suns, a team that has no black
all that matters,
and or
Greg,
orange in
is
their
who's
color
got
scheme.
the better team. Now, come on.
No, I care about uniforms as much as I care about teams. Yeah.
Of the Suns' next 8 opponents, the Suns have 8 games left before DeAndre Ayton comes back from his mass urination tour. The Suns have 8 games, and only one of those is against a team with a winning record currently. So I think the Suns have a good chance of getting back on a good road again before Ayton gets back. They do need to settle in some more. Aaron Baines has said they need to play better defense, and he's ready to help them do that. And Ricky Rubio has clearly shown that the offense is better when Rubio is out there. So I do think that the Suns will get back on and have a winning record after these next 8 games. That's my call.
All right, so we're ready for the Dunc-ie award. Is that where we're going?
Yeah, let's do it.
To remind everybody, the Dunc-ie is in honor of one Nate Duncan, who won we used to call this the hater of the week, but after Nate Duncan blew up Suns Twitter and blocked everybody, we named it in honor of him. This week's Dunc-ie is from back in 2018. I'm just going to read this and then we can discuss it. It says, I was on the Luka train for a while, but the more I see, the less I think it makes long-term sense, and that Ayton's versatility and size just make more sense.
Oh,
This moron,
is that you?
This moron does not understand the
this
reality
isn't
of
Gambo,
it.
is it?
He also asks, if you draft Luka, are you dealing Josh Jackson? Because he seems to be a playmaking small forward. Yeah, I'm a moron. Let's just make that clear. And
is this you?
This is me from
You dunked
2018.
yourself.
I dunked myself. Look, I am not afraid to admit that I was wrong, and I say stupid crap on the Twitter sometimes.
That's not a hater of the week though. That's just a terrible take in hindsight.
No, I was hating on Luka. You shall not be named. I was hating on him, and I was wrong. So look, I'm willing to make fun of myself too.
Were you more wrong about Luka or more wrong about Josh Jackson?
I was more wrong about everything I said in that tweet than anything I've ever been wrong about, I think. The point is, there's a lot of hatred on Suns Twitter as of late, a lot of weird crap going on, and I'm at least willing...
I haven't noticed. I thought everybody loves each other.
Just look, I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong, and I'm willing to make fun of myself, and that is more than deserving of being made fun of. All right, so I win the Dunc-ie of the week, and I will hold on to that until next week when we can pass it off to somebody who hates on something in the Suns world. But yeah, there were too many options this week, and I had to go with somebody near and dear to our hearts here and give him crap. So yeah, I win it this week.
I'll keep that thought to myself, actually. Hey,
that was about how I felt when looking at some of the hater tweets this week and just decided I'm going to keep it in the family.
At this point, respond with the Slam Dunk Award, where you were so prophetic and perfect and spot on last year, and we all should, give up our throne as prognosticators.
Sorry, I don't want to talk about a player any more than we need to, than we have, that's not on the roster anymore, unless we happen to be playing the team. It's worth pointing out, like I said, Tim Hardaway Jr. played absolutely fucking excellent. But as long as we aren't playing against Tim Hardaway Jr. every single week, I don't feel the need to keep talking about him over and over and over again. I also don't need to get on Twitter and shake my dick around and say, hey, look, everybody, I was right about the one player. We've had the discussions on the show. He's not on the Suns. So let's get over it. And DeAndre Ayton comes back. I think that Paul over at Fanning the Flames had a really great tweet that he sent out. I think it was last night, where he said that it's just basically right now, not only is Luka playing extremely well, but DeAndre Ayton has been suspended for basically the entire season. And we don't know whether or not he's taken that leap, and we don't know how good he is. But I do think it's time for us as fans to just get behind our guy, who is DeAndre Ayton.
Hold on a second. On Brightside as well this morning with Paul's permission as a story. And of course, the first comments were, Luka is awesome. We should have drafted Luka.
Hold on a second. You give me a colonoscopy on Wednesday's episode, Tim, about basically saying the same thing as Paul's saying, and then you applaud him for
Paul used
tweeting
better
it out?
English, though.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And by the way, that award that you were suggesting, Dave, should be called the Basketball Hipster, and you win it, Tim.
Basketball Hipster Award.
That is. Hey, you guys want to play a game? I came up with last night when I was drinking some beers. I thought it would be fun.
Oh, sure. Let's play a game. Play a game.
All right. So I'm going to ask you guys if you think that there should be more or less of this individual player moving forward in games. Okay. So we're going to go with bottom to top, right? The players that are playing the least amount of minutes.
All right.
So we'll go back and forth. We'll start one with Greg, then we'll go to Dave, then we'll start one with Dave, and then we'll go to Greg. All right.
Look at this, producing on the fly. I love it.
That is right. So we'll start this off with Jared Harper. averaging 2 minutes per game. Espo, more or less of Jared Harper?
Who the hell is Jared Harper? Is my first question. No, I'm just kidding. Less. if you just jettison
Less
him
than
to
the 2 minutes in
can you jettison
18
him to
games?
Prescott Valley? I think
In
that'd
one
be
game.
yeah, less.
Less than 2 minutes in
Less.
18 games. Okay. I'm gonna go with the same. Every
All right.
2 minutes every 18 games is good.
That's good.
If it's more, something catastrophically wrong has occurred.
Or if it's more, something catastrophically right has gone because he's just playing garbage time out there, right? And garbage time, hopefully, in the Suns' favor. Shaq Diallo, 10 minutes per game. Starting this off with you, Dave.
Shaq Diallo. Now, I think Shaq has looked really, really good over the past week. He's kind of a wild card. He's another dude. That's the thing is the Suns are starting to play the young guys more because of injuries, and the older guys a little bit less. And then you get a lot more inconsistent play, and you end up with losses. I like seeing individual plays from Shaq. I don't like the total result on the team because he's not always in the right place at the right time. So I would say same or less.
Right. Give me more because I simply would love more puns on his name, Shaq, because it rhymes. It sounds like Czech. So, honestly, if Frank Kaminsky keeps playing the way he is, I want to see more of Shaq because at least until Ayton comes back, because at least they're productive minutes on the offensive end. I can forgive a guy for not always being in the right place if he's grabbing rebounds and he's scoring. I'm all right with that. So if Frank's struggles continue, I want to see more at least until DeAndre Ayton's back in the fold.
Shaq Diallo actually leads the team in offensive rating at like 140. Obviously, it's a small sample size, but all right. So, Greg, Elie Okobo, 11 minutes game.
I think that's about right. I'm not fully bought into this. The new Elie Okobo, I think he's going to be streaky, and I think at his age, his skill set as a young guy, I think it's about the right amount of minutes to keep in there, especially with Ty Jerome coming back. Somebody's going to have to lose minutes. We'll get to Tyler Johnson, but I think Ellie's probably right about where he needs to be.
Yeah, I think that's about right. This is a theme that I'm going with today is that the more you play the group of young guys, the less consistent your effort and your outcomes and your productivity will be. Even if your effort is always there, what they do with that effort is completely unpredictable. And that's part of the reason the Suns are losing games. So I don't want to see Elie Okobo any more than we have. I probably end up we'll be wanting to see him a little bit less than we have in the past week because we can't really trust what we're seeing.
All right, Dave, starting this off with you. Cam Johnson, 19.2 minutes.
He is to me, because he's older than dirt. He's almost as old as I am, I think, at 52. Is he somewhere around there as a rookie?
Yeah, that's about right, Dave.
Yeah, it feels about that. Poor Cam. Even though he has a baby face, and my girlfriend calls him a little baby face guy, baby boy Johnson, she calls him. But
that's just because she's been looking at your face so long.
That's
everybody
true.
looks young. So.
That's a really good point. Thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate that,
Dave.
Old man. So Cam Johnson is the exception, I think. Now he is going to be really inconsistent, but his effort's going to be there, and the thing is that he puts himself in the right spots. He had some really good plays even on Friday night against the Mavs. He wasn't making his shot as well, and the Suns weren't finding him for catch and shoot threes like they need to. And I think that just will happen sometimes. But he is a good player that will end up playing more and more minutes as the year goes on.
I struggle with this one because it likely means that Mikal Bridges is playing fewer minutes, and I don't want to see that guy's growth stunted, and that's the problem when you draft guys in back-to-back years that play similar positions or same position. You wind up creating a log jam for yourself, especially when you decide to make your big free agent signing, the guy that plays the same position as well, and in Kelly Oubre Jr. So I struggle on this. I'd love to see more of Cam because I love watching his shot, but if it comes at the expense of Mikal getting his minutes, I'm torn. So I don't have a great answer for this one.
I wasn't suggesting 35 minutes a game.
I know
I was
you
just
weren't,
suggesting
Dave.
a few more, and I think the three of them can share. Plus, sliding over to power. I think what's nice is that Cam's developing his feel for sliding into a power forward role for a few minutes a game, whereas Kelly is hot and cold there, and Mikal does not feel really comfortable in a four role. Monty said before the game, or actually maybe it was after, I don't know, recently said about Cam Johnson that what he really likes about Cam is that Cam will ask questions about his role as the four sometimes in lineups and as the three and where he's supposed to be and all that. And so Monty really likes the fact that Cam is embracing the concept of each of these roles so he can at least be in the right spot. He's still skinny and he's a little bit stiff. But he certainly has the mental capacity and the length, the height to be able to play some four, and that's really good because I'd rather see him than Frank sometimes.
All right, Greg. Mikal Bridges at 19.8 minutes per game.
I'd like to see slightly more. He's got to earn it, but I think if this team is to become what Suns fans want it to, they need him to evolve into that 3-and-D guy, that stopper that they need, and we've seen flashes of it this year, and so I'd like to see it slightly more, but I'd like to see him earn those additional minutes.
Yeah, I want to see him earn it too. I made a joke with I think it was a common creeper on Twitter and a commenter on Brightside as well. He said, I'm predicting at the beginning of the game, I'm predicting Mikal makes a three tonight. Like that was a big hot take. And I said, well, I don't know. It's already the second quarter. He might not have time for this windup. And then to which Common Creeper replied, hey, we got a 15-minute halftime. He can start then. And he did make one at the end of the fourth quarter. He did get it under the buzzer. I want to see Mikal more minutes too. I want aggressive Mikal, but I also want effective Mikal. And he can be that. He's not quite even playing as well as he did a year ago. But then again, a year ago, he was kind of on unfettered minutes like a lot of guys. I'd like to see him play within this system and get more and more comfortable, and I think he will. He's along the lines of a Cam Johnson where he's going to be in the right place at the right time. He's just not comfortable sliding into the four position at this point. So he's got to be at the 2 or 3, and then that means you're either playing ahead of Booker or you're playing ahead of Kelly or you're playing ahead of Cam or somebody else out there in Tyler Johnson. So he's in more of a logjam. I want to see him end up playing more minutes because I think if he is playing more minutes, he's more impactful.
There was I don't remember which game it was, one of the games this week, where he drove the lane and attempted a dunk that was insane. He tried to posterize a guy, and it was just the kind of aggressiveness that I want to see from him. He didn't complete the dunk. I believe there was a foul on the play, but he went up from like way beyond the charge circle and almost threw it down because he's got those freakishly long arms and when he decides to be aggressive like that, he's an imposing force.
There was a loose ball on Friday night that there was several players, but Dallas and Phoenix, who all could have gotten to it and then were closer, and then all of a sudden Inspector Gadget threw out that right arm and dove for the ball, and he got to the ball first. I couldn't believe how long Mikal's reach was. I think in a lot of ways Mikal doesn't understand how long his reach is either, because even on those big wide dunks, it's almost like he overdoes the reach to the rim and misses.
He's surprised that,
I got all the way to the rim.
I'm pretty sure he can tie his shoes while standing straight up. That's how crazily long those arms are. Yeah, without bending over, he could tie his shoes. I want to see that aggressiveness from him. I think he could very much be like a young Dan Marley, where he got that Thunder nickname because he was so aggressive going to the rim. He could get those dunks on guys and poster guys, but and then he can hit that three as well when when he connects on that. And defensively, he's got all the potential in the world. So I would love to see more minutes from him because that means he's earned them, and we need that out of him.
All
Yeah,
right,
and
Dave.
Mikal, I'm
Dave.
sorry.
Dave.
Can I finish really quick? One more
Yep.
comment on Mikal.
Sure. Yes. Go. By all means.
I'm a huge fan of Mikal, but he does need to earn those minutes. And I don't think it's. I want to talk about the difference between giving him the minutes and then him proving he is capable versus him earning the minutes. When I said he's more impactful with more minutes, I don't mean you just hand him more minutes right now. I mean he's got to play better and earn those. I don't want to just say Mikal's better, so let's give him 30 a night. No. He's got to earn those. That's all. I just want to clarify that. I'm not trying to say give him more minutes and he's better. He has to prove it.
All right, Tyler Johnson, 20 minutes a game.
Is it me?
Yeah,
Yep.
It's you.
All right. God dang it. I love Tyler. And he will laugh as he's watching this because he watches all these things. I'm sure he does. And as he will laugh at me when I point this out, but it just happens to be one of those things that happened. His last positive impact in the game, as far as the scoreboard anyway, was that Atlanta game where he came in and he helped when Booker got his fourth foul in the third quarter, and Tyler came in and helped the Suns build the lead that they kept for good. And then I commented, how did it feel to come in there and spell Devin when he got in foul trouble? And Tyler used his girly voice and said, "Oh no, Devin Booker's not in foul trouble. Oh no, I've got to play." And he's like, "I'm not, I've been around this league. I've been in playoff games. I've played important minutes, and this is just a regular season game. Let's not overblow the impact that just a regular season game has." And this is when the Suns are riding high at 7-4. And so he kind of made fun of my question of was the team scared when Devin Booker got in foul trouble? And then he hasn't had a positive impact game since. So I'd like to see Tyler actually. So it's my fault. Yeah. I'd like to see Tyler actually have a positive impact on a game. He is in his defense, he's been given weird minutes where he's got to make a three coming right off the bench, and then he's got to make some really impactful plays in very short amount of time. He can't just go with the flow of the game. So in his defense, he's in a weird spot right now as far as his role on the team. I'd like to see him play like Tyler Johnson of last year, Tyler Johnson of his career. I'd like to see that, and if that's the case, he should get more minutes. But we're talking about a lot of people needing more minutes here.
I'd like to see slightly less, but until they have Ty Jerome or somebody play backup point guard, and he can focus on being more of that backup shooting guard and not have to handle point guard duties. What I wonder with Tyler Johnson is if he were making $5 million a year, like he probably should be, and didn't have this albatross of a contract, would we judge him differently? I feel like the fact that he makes $19.25 million is you got to get in the 2.5, as Dave mentioned, is part of why we view him in such a lens. Like he's not worthy of that kind of number. Miami overpaid, obviously, and the Suns inherited that, but overall, he has a positive impact on the players. Obviously, he's a locker room guy, and he's streaky on the court, which is what you kind of expect from backup guys in most cases. So I'd like to see him play maybe slightly less or the same, but as backup shooting guard, not as backup point guard.
Absolutely, and I shouldn't give mixed messages. I think he's got to, by saying he should get more minutes, he's got to earn the minutes. He's got to play better in his small time and to earn those extra minutes. I think he should be playing better right now, and he should deserve more minutes. But right now he doesn't. Right now he's having a negative impact, and he's got to fix that.
Greg, Frank Kaminsky, of whom you do own a timeshare, 23 minutes a game.
I think Frank should come grab a drink and sit in the cove with me and watch the games. I think that's about where we're at right now. He's another guy that's been forced to play and even more so than Tyler Johnson, forced to play out of position. He is a backup power forward who has had to play center. I'd like to see once Ayton's back and things kind of normalize how he plays, because I think that may be impacting some of this. But right now, he deserves fewer minutes, and those minutes should be going to Diallo at this point in my mind. And I have no problem admitting that. Sure, I stand for Frank Kaminsky at certain times. I will not sell my timeshare. Actually, I'm a landowner in Kaminsky Cove. Everybody else is a timeshare owner, but I'm not willing to sell that land. But I'm also not willing to be somebody that simply stands on principle and shouts for a guy because I stood up for him at one point. I'm willing to admit Frank Kaminsky deserves less minutes right now.
Yeah, I think if you turn Frank's contributions in a game into podcaster, as Greg was trying to do earlier, on finishing and not handing the ball off, all that, I think Frank would be a stutterer right now on a podcast, and someone whose points don't get made, and you want so badly for his points to be good, and they just aren't. I think that's Frank right now in podcasting world.
I think Frank's in his own head. I think that's the problem here.
Well, that's it. He can't get he can't get out of his head and into a coherent speech pattern. Going with my analogy, and so you want to see less of him. We need to see less of Frank. You know what? The fact that we're so excited about Shaq Diallo, guess what? There's a better version of Shaq Diallo. He's 8 games away. And I think people are going to be. Oh, stop. The contributions he's going to be able to make, DeAndre Ayton is going to be able to make, is going to be a breath of fresh air for this team. Obviously, his attitude, DeAndre's attitude, is going to be very important, but the play he has on the court has always been helpful to a team winning. They just didn't have enough horses last year. So I'm looking forward to a better Shaq Diallo taking Frank's minutes away.
So are you saying DeAndre Ayton should play more minutes?
Yeah, we haven't gotten that question yet. I'm waiting for it.
Aaron Baines starting this off with you, I believe, Dave, at 24 minutes a game. Is that just can everybody just agree? Yes, we would love to see more Aaron Baines. Yeah,
I was talking to Amin El Hassan from ESPN last night. He sat next to me up in the media row, and he asked me, who's the second best player on the Suns right now? And I hesitated for a while because I was watching Ricky Rubio just dominate when he was out there. Rubio was a plus 17. He had 21 points, 9 assists. He was really impactful when he was out there. And I took a little while because I wanted to say Baines, but man, you cannot have Aaron Baines playing more than 24 minutes or he gets himself hurt. He's shown it. Yes, I would love to see a 30-minute version of Aaron Baines every night. Absolutely. But I still think Ricky is the second best player on the team. Amin thinks Baines is the second best player on the team. So should he be given more minutes? Absolutely. Will it'll result in another injury? Probably.
I want 52 minutes a night out of Aaron Baines. I just love watching that guy. I love the screens. I love the hustle. I love the passion. I love the beard.
I love his smile every single time like a foul is called on anything or any player that gets in his face. The way he just like walks up to them and laughs. I'm like, dude, this guy's a badass. I just want him to like walk around and be my bodyguard.
I wish that Jokic didn't have.
He would be the baddest ass bodyguard ever. I would love Aaron Baines to be my bodyguard. Heck yes. Look, I would have the perfect life.
I wish Jokic didn't have the nickname the Joker because I really feel like it fits Aaron Baines. The laughing, I don't care. I'm just here to be a disruptor kind of attitude. I love what Aaron Baines brings. I love the fact that he pisses off Nate Duncan. The fact that he has an obscure minor league baseball hat fetish like I do. Everything about Aaron Baines I enjoy. So if we could get more out of him, I would love it.
And what's funny is he's like a 6'10" hipster. I mean, he's got the beard and the gelled hair and the way he dresses after games is totally hipster. He's like your basketball hipster, Greg.
Hey, if all basketball hipsters were like Aaron Baines, I'd be all in on it. So, no offense, Tim.
Dario Saric, 27, almost 28 minutes a game. Greg,
we're in the basketball hipster portion of this this podcast. You know what? A lot of people are negative about Dario. I like Dario. I'd probably give him slightly more minutes. I'd split what Frank's playing by playing Dario a little bit more, giving Diallo some of those minutes. Sarge, even if he's not hitting his threes, rebounds, plays smart defense, can pass the ball. I like what Dario does, so I'm a fan, and he's got fun hair, which is always a plus.
Yeah, we're Sarge lovers, I think, between me and Greg. I love what Sarge brings to the game, too. It would be great if he'd always make every other three and be a 50% three-point shooter because he's got all the shots. But the contributions he makes, I'd love him to be a little bit quicker with his feet. Sure, absolutely. I'd love him to be more vertical so he can block some shots. Absolutely. But he does everything he possibly can with the athletic ability he's been given. And I just absolutely love that. So definitely at 27, 28 minutes a night is ideal. Any more than that, and he's going to get a little tired. He's going to get a little exposed. Less than that, you're not using the best you can. So for sure, I like his contributions, and I think he's going to fit in real well next to the Master Urinator when he comes back.
He's one of the few players on this team where I look at and I think, I like it. Right where it is. Yep. Ricky Rubio, starting this off with you, Dave. 30.6 minutes per game.
Ricky Rubio. Well, I already said I think he's the second best player on the team. If you could play him 48 minutes, I would take it because there really is this. We haven't seen this since 2012, I guess, before Steve Nash was traded, where the team looks completely different with and without the starting point guard. I love what Rubio brings to this team, and the fact that he makes a few threes is really helpful as well. But even when he's not making his shots, the dude does all the right things at the right time. I would play Ricky 48 minutes a night if I could.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't think there's any debate that Ricky's the second best player on this team. I think, no offense to Amin, but I think he's kidding himself when he thinks Aaron Baines is the second best player. Maybe second most impactful. Okay, I can maybe buy that argument, but if we're talking just pure talent and the way he plays, Ricky Rubio is the second best player on this team. I'd love to see him out there every minute he can. Obviously, it's unrealistic to expect him to play all game, but he's that good. He's that creative of a passer. And the drop-off once he leaves the court is so vast. Now, that may become less noticeable when Ty Jerome starts to play, and that's a lot of pressure on a rookie, but he is more of that mold than any other point guard that they have on the roster. But, man, Ricky does some impressive things outside of getting a little too irritated last night about getting elbowed in the head. But other than that, he does some pretty damn impressive things out on that court, and is such a creative passer and really is the engine that drives this offense.
All right, Greg. Kelly Oubre, the second leading player in terms of minutes per game, if you do not count the one game that DeAndre Ayton played. 31 minutes a night. Kelly Oubre, what do you think?
I'm in an unpopular group here. I think Kelly should probably play slightly less. Should probably be giving more minutes to Mikal or Cam or somebody there. I know that's not popular. Kelly scores an immense amount, but sometimes I'm just not overly impressed with Kelly. He is what he is. He's going to score a lot, but I'm not the biggest Kelly Oubre guy. I don't know. I love what he does for the locker room, but I don't know. I just don't fully buy in, and I think the fact that he has the second most minutes it speaks more to the fact that they don't, especially when Rubio's out, have a good second offensive option other than Devin Booker than anything.
Yeah, as far as Kelly Oubre is concerned, I love his contributions on the court when he's focused and in. But kind of Friday night against Dallas was a little bit of a microcosm of Kelly Oubre's season. He had a season high makes in threes with 4. He made 2 consecutive threes to bring the game back to 50-50 by halftime, or right before halftime. But but then he gets into his own head. He stops following. He thinks he's going to make every shot, and he kind of tails off a little bit. He missed a couple of shots after those 2 threes to tie it that helped the Suns be down at halftime, and he has some hit and miss moments in the third quarter and the fourth quarter that really didn't help the Suns when they needed help. So, gosh, yeah, I think Kelly is more of a 28, 27, 26, 25 minute a game guy for this team right now, because I really like the potential contributions of Cam and Mikal in those minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you guys, except for the Monty does use Kelly a lot, so it's not an all bench lineup out there, and I do think there's a lot of value in that, because those all bench lineups are just not.
Yeah, he is aggressive. That's really helpful that Kelly is always aggressive, even if it's just to find his own shot. A lot of those second unit guys are not as aggressive as they need to be, and so that does show the Suns do need his contributions the way he gives them, for sure. I just wish we could cut out what we're really saying here is we just wish we could cut out 3 or 4 of Kelly's bad minutes. We don't want to cut out his good minutes. We want to cut out his bad minutes. If we could
only
guarantee
you could do
that,
that,
I would do that.
Yeah, he could probably pass the ball a little bit more.
Well, and that point, Tim, that you make speaks more to the construction of the bench and the fact that their performance has fallen off a cliff over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, than anything. That's not necessarily a positive for Kelly Oubre. It's just simply, well, we know this guy will be aggressive and try to score, and the rest of the bench doesn't show that they can do that right now. So, okay, yeah, it's a necessary evil is basically what we're saying right now.
It'll be nice when Ayton's back.
I think we all agree on that.
It's every game that goes on.
I'm
like,
this episode, it'll be nice when Ayton's back.
I mean, at the very beginning, I was like, all right, well, whatever. This is what it is. I'm really enjoying Aaron Baines. We're winning. The injuries start to pile up. You start to see some issues with the bench, and it's becoming more and more clear how nice it'll be to have Ayton back. But this does bring us to the last Suns player. You guys can probably guess who this is. Devin Booker, 35 minutes a night, who, by the way, is still a member of the 50-40-90 club, shooting 95% from the free throw line, 54% from 2-point, and 42% thereabouts from 3-point land.
It's easy to keep those percentages up when you keep passing your teammates. So.
Oh, man.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Am I starting this one, Tim?
Sure, I forget, but yeah.
Yeah. He's another guy. If you could play him every minute in a game, you would. He's the best player you have on your roster. He's the best guy on the court for your team at any point, so you want him out there as much as possible. So if physical fatigue wasn't a thing, I would play him every minute in a game and get everything I could out of him. I think that's a no-brainer. And by the way, when DeAndre Ayton comes back, a little side tangent, I think the Suns need to celebrate it by serving lemonade in a specimen cup at the concession stands, just as a welcome back DeAndre. So,
with a screw-on cap.
Yeah, exactly. Just go all out. Just make fun of the situation. You have fun with it.
Oh,
but you got to serve it warm, though. You can't serve it cold. So.
Oh God, apple cider.
Yeah.
It's winter.
Warm apple cider. I like it. We've come up with Suns marketing: warm apple cider in a specimen cup with a screw-on lid for DeAndre's first game back. Happy holidays, everybody.
And it could be like those girls at the bars, So it could just walking around with free samples, right?
Yep.
Little free samples. Everyone's got it down.
Yep. Exactly.
Oh man, that's a great way to end this. If you could play Devin Booker 48 minutes with no drop off in productivity, no loss of energy, for sure. So you got Ricky, you've got Devin, and Aaron Baines. If he had actually no loss of, and he could cut his foul rate in half, because there's no way Aaron Baines could play 48 minutes just simply because he would foul out every game. But if he could somehow not get fouls called on him, I would love to see him 48 minutes and not get hurt by all the charges and contact he makes. I mean, it's not just charges. The guy sets heavy screens, and All over the court. All over the court.
7.6 personal fouls per 100 possessions for Aaron Baines. That is impressive.
Right.
But look,
now,
you
if
wouldn't
you could
change.
get
You
those
wouldn't.
guys out there, that'd be great.
And you wouldn't change his aggressiveness though, because that's what makes him special. I mean, I get what you're saying. I get that seems like a large amount per 100 possessions.
Just
It is.
It is.
Slip
It
some
doesn't
cash to
seem
the
like
reps so
one.
they call less fouls, and it works out perfect.
I wonder what Mark West's fouls per 100 possession was. He had to be up in that 7.5 range there for his career, because he was a guy that it always felt like he got called for a foul even if he was just breathing. So
oh man, Mark West, I got a quickie on him. We crossed paths in the. No, I didn't get a quickie with him. But
he got
we
thumbed
crossed
earlier, and now
we crossed paths courtside last night, and I was trying to push through to get to the post-game interview, and all of a sudden Mark West was coming the other direction. Usually I can kind of like work my way past people or through people or whatever because I'm not the smallest guy. But Mark stood there, and all of a sudden I felt a shadow and eclipse of all the arena lights, and I looked up, and I'm like, okay, here, let me step back.
And he got
Take
called
your
for
time,
a foul.
Mark. Get past. It would have been considered a foul, and one of the security guys was just cracking up. He's like, "Yeah, I see you pushing through." Then all of a sudden, Mark West comes, and you back right off. I'm like, "Yep," because that dude knows how to lay a pick.
The funny thing is, he's one of the nicest human beings I've ever met. I love Mark. So sorry for the tangent, but it reminds me very much of how Aaron Baines draws fouls.
Yes.
Gets called for
Aaron
fouls.
Baines is our Mark West. I think that's a very good way to put it. Mark West with a 3-point shot.
Yeah.
Ooh, that would have been
Aaron
a hell of a
Baines,
player, actually.
Leads, and again, players that actually like play, leads the team in difference between offensive rating and defensive rating. Offensive rating, when he's on the court, 130. Defensive rating, 110. That is by far the best of anybody on the team. He also leads the team in VORP at 0.6, as well as box plus minus at 6.1. The second player in box plus minus is Devin Booker at 1.1, just to give you the difference there in how impactful Aaron Baines has really been this season.
And now that we've put everybody to sleep with advanced metrics, Tim, you can take us home now.
I mean, that's like calling algebra advanced. But on that note,
algebra puts me to sleep too. Yeah, boring.
That's like calling long division advanced.
Boring.
On that note, so thank you everybody so much for listening to the podcast version.
Do we have any questions unanswered in the YouTube chat at all? Anybody actually watching today?
I've been doing this thing. You got to get out of here in like 5 minutes. You said you had a heart out, no?
I do have a heart.
Are we now giving Tim a hard time for closing the show, even though I told him he could close the show?
Right. You're like, I realize you're closing the show, but
the show is wrapping up all the YouTube comments.
Can we prepare for this show in the future so we actually know when we're gonna end this thing?
It's much easier just to judge others without any preparation or forethought. Thank you very much.
Look, I'm going through this. It looks like we covered pretty much everything that people brought up, except for the "Hey, sign Amari" comment, which, sure, if let's sign Amari. So.
And by the way, happy birthday again, Greg, turning 36 today. I hope it's a wonderful birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy early birthday to you as well, Tim.
Hey, well, I'm not gonna be here, so you guys are gonna be doing Wednesday without me, but thank you.
Wait, your birthday's coming up?
It's Wednesday.
Yeah.
Did I miss
Wednesday.
That?
I am going down.
42?
37. I am going down to Orlando to see the Suns play the Magic. So.
Yeah. I remember you mentioning that. So happy birthday to you. I really hope that's a win. God, I hope that's a win. I really need
I hope it's a win for everybody's sake.
Hey, bring Aaron Gordon back with you, if you would, please.
I sure will. I'll let him know that a few Suns fans out there want to sign him.
All right. Birthday wishes are done, Dave. I don't give a crap when your birthday is because it's not this week.
Mine's a long way away. So, no worries there.
Yeah, no problem. All right, everybody.
Age.